So how is everyone doing today? And you can open up your mic. I like to have an informal session here, so please stop me at any time you want to ask questions. And, we're going to go through this, and it might be something new for some folks. And if you're one of these people that already have Disciplined Agile certifications or an Agile certification, I ask that you keep me, just keep me straight there and make sure I'm telling the good stuff. And I'm going to jump right into this and talk about why we need Disciplined Agile. And the first thing I do is want to kind of set the stage. So real quick history lesson. We've had 20 years of Agile, and I'm on the Agile listserv for the federal government. I'm one of the co-owners, and we've been seeing lots of discussion back and forth. I'd say maybe the last 4 or 5, I don't know how many years, of Agile. Where's it going? What has it done? How's it working? And you get everything from, Agile is the only way to go, to sometimes I see some articles in Forbes magazine about, the death of Agile and we should just stop doing Agile. So lots of opinions and stuff out there. And to give you a little bit about my background, I am a project management professional by PMI. I got the PMI Agile Certified Practitioner a few years back, and I recently got the Certified Disciplined Agile Practitioner. And some of you may know that the Project Management Institute, because they're making a big push into Agile, essentially bought the intellectual property for Disciplined Agile and another type of Agile for organizations, something called Flex. So you're seeing more and more acceptance of Agile. And if you work in the federal government or even state and local governments, you also see kind of this hybrid, okay? So the idea here, and I don't want to have to go through the arguments, and I'm pretty sure everyone's pretty much convinced why we use Agile for most projects, although I'm one of these people that I still use waterfall when needed. And the way I kind of look at it is if I know where I'm going and I know how to get there, and it's a project that makes sense to use Agile, waterfall, like building a road, we'll do it that way. Though I haven't done much road building lately. But with Agile, I've been an IT project manager for a while before I became a trainer and developer. And I still do keep my hand in building applications. I'm more low code, no code these days, especially with the Microsoft platform and some of the Google app things, but still keep my hand in it, still run software projects. So really quickly, what have we learned in the last few years with Agile? And if anyone wants to open up the mic and tell me some things they've also learned, but one thing, we have lots of methods out there. I'm pretty sure we all agree. I was a Scrum Master. I should look back and get my certification on Scrum Master again, but I got the Agile Certified Practitioner. And there's a discussion, I just had one recently on LinkedIn on which Scrum Master certification is the best. And if you've ever worked in government or in some organizations, you get kind of this hybrid model. And a good friend of mine who's the co-owner in the list really hates this idea. It's either Agile, and I call this Roadhouse Agile, if you all know the film, my Agile way or the highway. And in some places, they like to do a hybrid model, so you have an Agile fall. So a little bit of Agile, a little bit of waterfall, whatever else you can mix in there, all right? So I have to say that, it's kind of being immersed in all this. And I really was happy in the Scrum world, and Scrum was working for me, and I was running around. And my day job, I work at the United States Patent and Trademark Office. I'm also a professor over at University of Maryland. I teach project management, communication, and leadership. And I teach for another University of Louisville on communication technologies and website development. So basically been very happy with what Agile has been able to do for me and working with that. And then when I heard about PMI acquiring Disciplined Agile, that's when I started looking into it. And I got to say, I loved it from the first moment I saw it. It's like the whole new mindset. And it was kind of the things that I was running into with my own Agile journey. Scrum does so much, but, and Agile methods are so good, but sometimes trying to get an Agile project in an organization didn't work as well. And what I liked about Disciplined Agile, and incoming, lots of text block here for you, and I'm not going to read this to you, don't want to insult you, but I just wanted to kind of throw to you what convinced me about Disciplined Agile and why I like it and why I think we should use it for our federal projects, and pick out some of the best words here for you. The biggest thing that sold me was the way of working, the wow, and the idea that you can choose and customize your way of working on any project. Because again, with my friend who's the Roadhouse Agile evangelist, it's either Scrum or nothing, and you use Scrum, and you have to use Scrum this way, or it's not an Agile project. There's just so much orthodoxy. And we argue about this all the time. So much orthodoxy about that. And I like about Disciplined Agile is that I can pick how I want to do things and put it together the way I want to. I think of it as like a big Lego block, you know, big box of Lego blocks. And I can just combine stuff. And as it says here, this last sentence, it's, you know, it combines things from Scrum, Agile modeling, extreme programming, all these different things that are pretty cool. And what I really like, especially when you work in an organization like I do with the USPTO, it's very siloed, a lot of bureaucracy and such. You're able to modify in your enterprise aware and your context aware, okay? So I'm gonna pause before I jump into the next part here, but just any questions so far? Any comments? Anything anyone wants to express? Give a moment here, okay. All right, good. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and jump on in the next part, but again, feel free to just open up the mic when you wanna ask a question. And when I went through Disciplined Agile, now when I got and realized that it is changing and it's evolving. So when I got the certification earlier this year, and I think it was probably February or March, it was still under the folks that had created it. And it was just transitioning to Project Management Institute. So they had still their Agile Manifesto. So they had taken the Agile Manifesto, added a few more things to it, added some principles to it. And when the Project Management Institute got a hold of it, they decided we're not going to use manifestos because that, you know, it seems kind of a little outmoded to them. They wanted to start with principles. So these are the 8 principles of Disciplined Agile. And I love the first one, just be awesome. Okay. And that's a pretty nice lofty goal there. But the second one to me, and this really is how I do a lot of my projects, be pragmatic. I'm not so much as concerned, and this may shock some of you, that I'm not so much concerned of how well I manage the project as much as how well do I get that project product out there to the customer, because that's what they care about. That's what my customers care about. So when I'm developing a training course or I'm developing an application, my customers are not as excited about the project process, and if I followed it correctly, as what did I deliver and is it something they can use? And back when I was an IT project manager, actually had almost a career-ending move when I developed a product that, hey, I managed the project really well. I did a great job, but the product was not at all what the customer wanted. And my managing partner basically said, I don't care how good of a project manager you are, and I just got certified, you still disappointed the customer, and that's not going well. And then I like these other parts here. Choice is good. Context counts, very important. Delighting customers, enterprise awareness. How many of you, and you can raise your hand or tell me, how many of you work where you feel like your project, you're running it right, you're running it well, but you feel like you're in a foreign land there because your projects kind of feel isolated and you're stuck with the bureaucracy and silos, and you're doing the best job you are, but you just feel kind of out of touch with the rest of the organization. So that's what I like about Disciplined Agile. It helps you kind of put that stuff in there. And Lyra Atwater raised a hand. Yeah, go ahead and open up your mic and say hello. I hope I got your first name right.
You did. You just said raise your hand if you agreed with you. So I raised.
Okay, good. Right. And, you know, some other these principles here. So, yeah, these are, you know, optimizing flow and such. And with the principles, you have promises. And some of these promises I like because it's not really IT world, but it's more about the organizational culture. And I got to be honest, as a trainer and developer, I do a lot of time work with helping people with emotional intelligence, psychological safety, and the organizational culture, because honestly, as an IT project manager, I have found that it's really important about the soft skills sometimes, keeping the team happy, keeping the team well, and helping them develop and thrive. Because, you know, as an agile project manager, I know most of you, you're only as good as your team. And if you don't have a happy team, and if you're, you know, and if you're a Scrum master or you're a product owner, if you don't have a happy team, you're not going to get the products you're wanting. So creating this psychological safety, embracing diversity, very important. One of the things I really like on this is collaborating proactively. It's not just collaborating, but getting people to think ahead and collaborating with each other. And this is an interesting one here. I want to see if anyone else thinks about this. Improving predictability. Just gonna open up a mic. Why do you think it's important that we promise to improve predictability? Well, Kirsten, can I pick on you? Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Yes, you were. And Kirsten, why was
You
it
can't hear
important?
me when I'm on mute.
Yeah. Why is it important to improve predictability, especially in your Drupal projects? I think she went back on mute.
I did go back on mute. Can't we pick on Wayne or Larry?
Sure, why not? Wayne, Larry, which one of you guys want to?
Oh, Wayne does.
Wayne does. Okay. Oh, Larry's there. Hey, Larry. Well, I think I'm failing here at the interactivity part, but let's go, Larry.
Well, I'll jump in.
Sure. Okay.
This is Elizabeth Pierce with Indian Affairs.
Uh-huh.
And we want to improve predictability because we've not been known for a lot of successful IT projects. We've had some challenges in the past. If you recall back in the early 2000s, we were the reason the entire Department of Interior got yanked off the internet for cybersecurity. Anyway, nonetheless, that really impacts our ability to project what we're able to do in the future, like the private sector, delivering business value and updating our antiquated systems. So absolutely, we need to kind of get out of the waterfall mode and start delivering value quickly.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing here when I see improved predictability is I'm saying you're establishing trust, because a big part of trust is I can predict your behavior. I can rely on your behavior. And I know you're going to deliver for me.
Very good. Yes, that does build trust. Thank you.
And then we have guidelines, and some of this stuff here, like design thinking. I'm a big design thinking person. One of my favorite ones is creating effective environments that foster joy. And, we want our product to inspire joy in our team, because if you got a happy team and they're joyful, they're going to come back and do more stuff for you, but you also want happy customers. It's really, I know this sounds kind of fluffy and maybe a little, happy, joy, like Ren and Snippy, but it really does help improve this organization, because when you get these applications out there and when you're doing these projects, you want to make sure people can predict, they trust you, they feel safe in being innovative, and they know you're going to deliver, because that's all about being awesome. All right. So that's why I like the guidelines here. And that's something I can take to my customers and say, this is what we're going to do for you. I did a series of trainings, and this is kind of interesting. I did a series of trainings for the Office of Communication at USPTO, and I brought in these guidelines, and they're starting to adopt some of these for their communications. And it's, and it's kind of odd, guys. I'm teaching a communication office dealing with press releases and events and things like that, and I'm teaching them agile project management, but it almost makes some sense when you think about it. And maybe Larry Gillick will maybe disagree with me, but I hope not. Okay.
I am not going to disagree with you.
Okay, perfect. So we have the Disciplined Agile toolkit, and in the shareable file, I have to admit, I try to get some permission to use this, so I'm not really supposed to show it to you guys, so don't look at it. But I'm trying to get the copyright clearance from Project Management Institute. Didn't get it in time, so I'm going to show this to you, but it's not on the shareable file. But it is, I got a link to the page where you can see this for yourself, okay? So don't look at this diagram. But what I wanted to show this to you is how they've reorganized it. And the idea about how Disciplined Agile goes from the Disciplined Agile Enterprise. So you can see this little piece here. Let me see if I can turn on my pen. Yeah, here's my pen. So you got this little Disciplined Agile Enterprise. And these things here are called blades. And I'll talk a little bit about these in a moment, these little hexagons. And then you've got the value stream piece. Then you got the Disciplined DevOps. Do I have any DevOps people in this house? Raise your hand if you are. Say yay. And all this is essentially fitting together, and it's part of the value stream. And down here are the foundations, principles, promises, and guidelines. We talked about that. We talked about the different kinds of workflows, work lives, the roles that people play, the teams, how you organize your teams, and the ways of working. And all these come together, and if you have this done correctly, your entire enterprise is built around the Disciplined Agile, and they work with each other, okay? Kind of making sense so far? And this is where we talk about context matters, but you have an enterprise awareness. So it's not just my isolated lean project somewhere in the, you know, the 5th level of the bureaucracy, but we're all helping to support each other and helping all these things work with each other. And like the other day, we were just talking about this with the knowledge management folks yesterday about, okay, what does asset management have to do with security, with cybersecurity? Or what does, you know, people management have to do with our data management? And we started drawing the connections between them. And sometimes, and some of you all can tell me this, sometimes you got parts of the organization that are so siloed, but they don't see how they influence you. I mean, DevOps folks, how much does finance influence you guys? Okay? How many times have you had all your operations maybe cease or stop because finance has done something? So it's kind of like recognizing the interdependencies there. So talk a little bit about the process blades. And again, what are these process blades? They're enterprise architecture, people management, all these different things. And what goes into a process blade is the purpose of the process blade, the process elements, the things that we do to, like, for example, if I'm in people management, there's HR processes, there's training and development processes, there's retirement processes, there's different activities, workflows, and they all link with each other, okay? And that's how we kind of look at this with Disciplined Agile, this whole look, and everything's really interconnected with each other. So when I get to this process blade, and let's take a look at one of these with the process elements, we start with choosing our wow. So one of the things that we can do, if you're working with a team, you choose the kind of work, you know, the team, the life cycle you want, and you choose your way of working. And this is the new book that came out from PMI, and it explains to you how to create your wows, way of working. And first thing we do is we figure out what kind of disciplined agile life cycle. So we have agile, right? We have lean, and we're all familiar with these different life cycles. And then you got this continuous delivery agile, which is like agile, but you're on a continuous delivery model, continuous delivery lean. And then you have exploratory projects. And then here's something fun. We have the flex one, which is another piece of intellectual property that PMI bought. That's about organizational culture. And then they decided to go back and bring waterfall in, although they call it serial, okay, because it's, you know, series, linear, and put that in there. So one of the things you do as a team is you first think about what is the project and which life cycle should I choose for it. Now, to even make it more fun for you guys, you can change life cycles in the middle of a project. And when I told this to my Scrum friend, he was just aghast. Like, no, we're going to Scrum from beginning to end. That's it. You're going to stay with it. And he said, it just doesn't make any sense. What if I started with a serial and then I decide to go agile? And I said, what's the harm in that? What's the problem with that? And I'm going to open it up to debate. Anyone here see a problem with that? Switching around life cycles? Does it scare you somewhat?
Oh, heck no.
Okay, Larry. And Larry, why is that?
All right, so sharing time, I suppose. Hi,
Hi.
I'm Larry, friend of Bill's.
Weird.
Oh, right, it's a different thing here. I'm a friend of this Bill.
Yeah.
So, anyway, yeah, I've actually experienced joining a new team that is so into its type of Scrum. I think it was like they were doing safe agile, which is great if you're doing product development, but I'm in a comms shop, so we don't do product development. I'm always in a comms shop wherever I work. And so product development isn't really the thing. You want to do the product development, but you also need that extreme nimbleness, which, okay, not everybody in the room, but you've heard me use before as an expression, because you need to be able to change direction. You need when the secretary or whomever says, we're going to do X now, you got to be able to move and just build a new thing and drop everything else. And some agiles don't want you to do that. Like,
right.
We're in the middle of a sprint, we're in the middle of a this or a PI or what. Shut up. Build the thing. And we have to. And so, which is why I wear this hat. This is my OG agile hat. And that's a lot like your discipline. So I'm kind of enjoying this.
Okay, cool. Great. Glad someone is. All right. So we had the DA life cycles, and this is what kind of looks like here, and lots of stuff and circles within circles. And this is, I believe this is the agile, or maybe continuous delivery agile. And the thing I want you to really key on, because each life cycle has something that looks like this, and it kind of helps you go from the beginning to the end and how it works. And, you know, it looks like a lot like your Scrum cycle, especially if I pin on, like this one here. We've all seen that piece, right? you get your product backlog, and in this case, we call it the iteration backlog, and we do a little iteration, we do a little daily work, and we got a consumable solution, and we send it out, and it comes back in. So this is a continuous agile. What I want to focus on, though, is the foundation that all these guys live on, which is the inception, construction, and transition phases. And these are the milestones that you're looking for. So in inception, we're initiating the endeavor. We got a stakeholder vision. We got a proven architecture. And one thing that you notice a lot of in Disciplined Agile is architecture is a big thing. And this makes a lot of sense because we're incorporating DevOps, and we've got to be able to work with the architecture we have and putting our solutions on the architecture we have, but maybe also shaping it too. But that's kind of incorporating some of the best practices from DevOps. So like Larry mentioned SAFe, there's SAFe in here too. You can use SAFe with this, and you just incorporate some of the best features of it. But you decide, instead of being, I'm going to use SAFe no matter what. And I remember going to some training in SAFe, and it's fascinating, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around the idea of the trains and, the art stuff. And this here, I can pick what I need to use. So you have in the construction, you develop the potentially consumable solution, and you get to the point of sufficient viability, then we deploy it, and we should have delighted stakeholders at the end, right? So we've got the foundations there. And then once we picked our Disciplined Agile life cycle, and we can change it anytime we want to, but once we pick our initial one, and we'll talk about having a process workshop, we're going to go through the process goals. So you see where we had inception, right? And then we had the construction part, and then we have the transition part over here, and it's obscured by all the videos there. Then we have the ongoing. But you have 21 different process goals, and this is what these little bubbles are. And you don't have to choose all 21. In fact, it's going to be kind of a really complex project if you do that. But you choose the most useful ones for you. And for example, one of the more common ones here is explore initial scope. That's probably the most common process goal, okay? And identify initial architecture structure, evolving your wow. So you pick what you need, the process goals in your process workshop, and you're building your ways of working. So when we go into a process goal, let's take a look at one called goal coordinate activities. You see it's like a decision tree. So I have all these activities, and there's the best practices, and you can add to this if you want to. And I got that little share thing over here. So like we have share information, who owns the artifacts, how we coordinate with the teams, all these different decision points. And then these are suggested best practices, and or practices you could do. Like I love this one with share information. Maybe you don't have anything, so none. I'm not really sure if that's a great practice. But you can use these different ways of sharing information. And when it has an arrow, this is like from the worst to the best. And if you see something that's in italics, and there's a nice little legend to this. This is the most common way people do this. But the idea is if I'm sitting down with my team and say, okay, we got to do some coordinating activities. We got to coordinate across the program. How do we do that? And we can look at, well, an architecture owner team, common cadences, coordination meetings. We pick out what we want to do, and that goes into our building our way of working, all right? And how many of you be surprised that you have a way of working process goal diagram that helps you pick all this stuff? So for example, how do we organize our physical environment? I love this, caves and commons. And in our communication office, Larry, you would love this. We have kind of like these little individual offices, and there's common areas. And I told them, you guys have caves and commons, and that's how you work. Some of you may have agile modeling and planning rooms, winning a war room or something like that. You choose the different collaboration styles. You select the life cycles. One of the biggest things is organizing your tool environment. And again, this differs greatly. If I'm a heads down mobile app developer, I'm going to have different tools, and I have to have different ways of organizing it. Whereas if I'm in a communication office, which I've taught communication offices, our communication office they've got whiteboards, they've got Trello boards, and they've got different tools they use for producing videos, producing press releases. They're going to have a different tool environment they're organizing. Okay. Oops, hang on a second there. Got to find my mouse. Okay, there it is. So that is the process goals. And I'm going to wow you with this amazingly complex diagram here. this is how you make the WOW your own, and this is the process you go through. You identify a potential way of working, you try it out, you assess, is it effective? If it is, we adopt it. If it's not, we abandon it, and we go back up the process line and we share learnings with each other, okay? So that pretty simple process, making the WOW your own. And I'm going to introduce to you the idea of DAD teams. And they look a lot like Scrum teams. They look a lot like Agile teams, except one big thing. So we have a team lead. So you know how you have that self-organizing, self-managing team. You still have kind of a team lead, and the team members elect them. And then, and also realize, if you don't like that concept, anything in Disciplined Agile, you can basically make your own, and you can have a self-organizing team. So you don't have to have a team lead. It's just suggested. If it's a best practice for you, that's great. If it's not, that's fine. Of course, you have a product owner. You have the stakeholder sitting outside, and they talk to the product owner. And probably the thing that you have here that's different for a lot of you is the architecture owner. And this is like a product owner in a sense, but they're representing the architecture. And they're representing how you're going to get your solution on the architecture in the organization. So that might be a new thing for you guys. I'm actually liking that more. I didn't like it at first, but I'm actually liking it more because it helps me with the security folks, you know, the cybersecurity folks, and it helps me with our network folks. And it's good getting them involved in early. And then you got the supporting roles. If you need any specialists, there you are. Grab them in there. Independent testers, all these different things. So your team, you know, one of the interesting things we were talking about, and I was talking to a fellow about this yesterday, is DAD teams may be a little bit bigger, and there may be a lot more roles on there, but it does work better with the coordination across the enterprise. And that's why you expanded the roles more for the coordination across the enterprise. And then this is what a DA process workshop looks like. And I'm actually building one, and Larry, you'll really appreciate this. I'm building one of these now for our communication office because they have asked me, and this is as far away as I can get from IT software development, I think. They're planning Black History Month next February, and they're planning all these different events, and they want to try out Disciplined Agile to help them manage all the projects during that month. So we're going to have a process workshop, and we're going to think about our ways of working and doing things like how we're going to do the collaboration styles, how we're going to organize our physical and virtual environment, tool environment, life cycle, all these different things, and capture our ways of working so we have better coordination and better, better coordination and better execution of what we're trying to do there. So pretty cool. And then you ask, have I used Disciplined Agile for actual software? Yes. I build training applications. We're building a computer-based training now. And we're using Disciplined Agile for that to help us, you know, get our tools together and get our collaboration styles. And it's really helpful because we have vendors we're working with. And getting them introduced to it was a little bit of an, you know, they were a little bit of a shock to them, but they're liking the way it works because we're developing our own way of working. And I'm not trying to force them into some kind of Agile orthodoxy or Scrum orthodoxy. We use what works for us. There's a lot of pragmatic stuff. So I'm going to end with this: 3 reasons to adapt Disciplined Agile. It is very customizable to your organization's needs. You got a big toolkit here. You don't have to use everything. There's lots of things to pick and choose from. You can develop your way of working. You can develop the life cycle. You know, you can do how you want to on it. And there's continuous reflection on your WOW. I mean, once we're in a process, we're not wedded to it. We can change. We can make changes when we want to, how we want to. Whatever helps get your product out there. It's easily scalable. You know, you can scale this up to organization wide. It's built that way. That's why they included the flex thing, which is supposed to be a big lean model for organizations and cultural change. And they got the flex. And I threw in a bonus here. It encourages lean and agile mindset in your organization. And I find it's been a little easier to sell this and say to folks, you know, I give them the principles, I give them the guidelines and the promises, and I say, this is what we're trying to do here. And it's in language they can understand. It's not technobabble. And and I think a lot of folks just love the analogy of the Lego box. You know, here's my little blocks here, but this is how we're going to build it, and we're going to deliver something for you. So it's very free form, but there are guide rails. There are guardrails there, and that's where your process skills come in. And it's funny, when I show people the process go diagrams, they get it. They get how that works. It didn't have to take too much explanation for it. So I thought I'd have to do a little more education on it, but that's worked out well for me. So want to thank you. This is how to reach me. BASA is my own private little consulting company on my side. So, you know, just kind of pushing that out there, but those are all the wonderful certifications I have. And I want to open this up if we got some time for questions, comments, and arguments. I love when we get arguments. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. And you have a copy of these you can download. It's an Adobe PDF. And please feel free to talk to me anytime you want to about this. So any questions, comments? I see some chat open. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna look in here in chat. So I did. In government, with contractors, so many silos. Yep, that's true. And this is a good slide. I wondered about serial. I would be an old waterfall guy. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I can talk about that for a second, there's a lot of good things about waterfall. I'll be honest, I was trained in waterfall. I was trained in waterfall way before Agile. It came around in the year 2000. And there's still some good stuff you can borrow, but that's what I like about it. We don't have the divide. We have what works, what can I do to make it work, so can I build it in there? So any questions, comments? Kirsten, do you have anything to say?
I have lots of things to say when I'm not on mute.
That's perfect.
So if you have no other questions, and feel free to ask more questions. Bill does not much like Slack.
Oh,
You're better off asking him questions right here, right now.
I'll play with Slack for you guys. Okay, there's a good question. Is there anything you cannot apply DA to, Disciplined Agile to? You know, it's so funny because it has elements from everything that you can do in project management, especially when they include the serial. I think you could, I don't know if there's anything you can apply DA to. I'll be very honest though. There is another methodology I teach, and I think I taught a couple years, small project management, where you got a real small project and you're working with it. And Disciplined Agile might be a little too much overhead for you. So, but with my small project management, I have it developed so that you can run a project with a legal pad and a pencil. So, you know, it depends on the size of your project. But I think so far I've found DA works pretty well with all kinds of different projects. I mean, honestly, when the communication office came to me and said, well, could we run Black History Month with this? I'm like, okay, let me take a moment and think about that. And it made a lot of sense because, as Larry knows, with communication projects, you don't have the usual lifespans you would have with mobile or whatever, even though those are pretty fast. You got to turn around stuff maybe in a day, half a day, and you got to be able to turn on a dime. And that's being agile. Insta beats. Yep, Insta beast. Oh, okay. Never heard that term before, but yeah, exactly. You got to be fast. I mean, just to give you and also in the training development department, when we went on the quarantine, we were asked to put together a town hall for all our folks. And there's 140 people to get them prepared and trained, and they wanted a 3-hour training workshop, and could we do it in a week, all virtual? And that was pretty fast, and that was a feat. And I used a bit of Disciplined Agile to get my team together and working on that. And I was still learning as I was going along, so thank goodness it worked, or else I would have really looked bad. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Last chance, folks.
Last chance. Okay.
You can also reach Bill,
Yeah.
Dr. Brantley, on LinkedIn. He's quite often there. So if you don't have a question or you want to actually send him another message, feel free to reach out to him on LinkedIn.
I'm often more on Facebook, and if you like cat pictures and cat videos, you want to subscribe to my channel because I like cats. So you'll get a lot of cat pictures.
We will be posting the videos sometime next week for all of the sessions. This has been recorded, and we also have had closed captions.
Yeah, perfect.
So hopefully we will see you all tomorrow for more Drupal GovCon. And have a great day, everyone.
Yep. Enjoy your supper. You're in that time zone. Thank you, guys.